couple nights ago, I think last week, my big Great Dane's barking, woof, woof, woof. A puppy, but we're like, why? My wife rolls over, are the dogs still outside? No. I wasn't wearing something proper, and I got a roommate upstairs living in my house. So she goes out and checks. I guess the neighbors were fighting. I thought nothing of it because I thought, they're just arguing out in the middle of the street. So we brought the dogs into our bedroom, went to sleep, woke up. Becky said there was like 5 cops out there. I mean, and when I got out there was none. So I thought she was joking. So I left. I think I dropped Annie off at school, my kid. I turned around. When I got home, there was a cop going up there. Actually, no. It wasn't when I was home.
Why?
I left again.
What is this? Why do you
That's
have
not.
this?
That's
What is not?
virus scanner.
Okay. Stop using virus scanners. They are viruses.
No, they're adware.
Exactly. Viruses. Stop using a virus scanner, Josh. Stop it.
But no, when I got there was a cop coming out of his SUV cruiser down here in Kansas. Almost every cop has an SUV cruiser. He gets out, and he's got a camera. I guess there must have been damages, and it was a lot more major. If I knew that, I would have called the cops, but obviously someone did. Because cops showed up, but... Okay, so I'm Josh.
I'm Dalton.
And this is a Two Morons podcast. This was kind of random. I know we talked that we would be doing stuff about Donald Trump. I mean, it would be very easy to talk how bad he is.
Yeah, we mentioned talking about Trump, but I just don't want to. I don't want to rant about Trump. I just don't.
It just kind of makes us angry, mad, and...
I don't want to irritate myself for no reason. That just doesn't sound like fun.
Yeah, every time we see a sticker saying Trump for 2020, we just kind of want to hit ourselves with a hammer.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. I mean, instead, I've been interested in Python recently. Python and neural networking. I've been watching just nothing but neural networking videos. Hours and hours and hours of neural networking videos in Python. It is incredible. I love it.
Nerd.
Wow.
Oh, okay, yeah, he's been talking about it. I don't really understand some of the programming. Yes, I do some HTML, but...
That doesn't count.
Python, C++.
I actually got pissed off in high school. I went to... I had a secondary school for electives. And so it's like I would get on the bus and I would transfer. But they advertised, they're like, we're going to have an after-school class. So instead of leaving at like 3:30 to 4 when I would normally leave, I would leave at 5 or 6, and they're like, okay, we're going to be doing programming. So naturally I sign up for the class. Obviously I want to do programming, I want to be able to make something functional on the, so I joined the class, and there's myself and 2 of my friends are in that class, and immediately I sit down and he's like, all right, so we're going to get started. Everybody wants to pull up blah, 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 blah. We're going to be doing HTML and CSS. And I'm like, immediately I'm like, well, that's not even close to what I wanted.
No.
I don't think that counts. We're just, because he didn't even really focus too much on HTML, and he didn't use any JavaScript. So JavaScript makes the most of the functionality on websites. He was strictly focusing on, like, the majority of the class was CSS, and I'm like, this is not programming, this is design. I don't want to get into design. I want to make something functional that works. I want to make a program. I want to learn how to...
HTML is not that. I mean, it's pretty much how you write a web page if you're a cheapskate and don't want to use a professional web page developing software, or how you bring something in. I mean, it's pretty simple, and you don't really have to know it. You can look up everything you need to know and use that within hours.
Chances are, if you want to make something with HTML or CSS, you could look it up. Somebody's probably already made a similar format. You just go ahead and copy paste, or don't even copy paste. Just take what you want. Write it in yourself, make it fit your formatting, call it good.
Like the webpage I'm developing for this podcast, a lot of the HTML I'm using is just embedding videos. And that is simple copy and paste. I mean, it's not complex.
Yeah.
So why do we go back to that Python and learning?
So initially, right? So initially, the first one that I started watching it was Python Plays GTA 5 by, I believe, Centdex on YouTube. And it was interesting because it's just he wasn't using like the neural network didn't have access to the values of the game, didn't have access to the objects in the game and all the whatnot. It couldn't tell that it was the car. It couldn't tell that it was a bike. It couldn't tell whatnot. He just had GTA opened in an 800 by 600 window, and he just had that window captured on using image grab or something. I forget exactly what. Using essentially an image grab as fast as it could while still doing the processing.
So pretty much it was playing the game like we play it.
Yeah.
Just what you were talking about is like when we play some games, the AI, some reason why the AI seemed like it's harder to beat is it already knows what's there. It knows where that extra car is, or it knows which direction you're playing. It cheats, and they do that because it's hard to make a AI that doesn't and feel real.
Yeah.
But your Python...
But just from all that, Python, I mean, well, there's a lot. Python just seems easy. I don't know how else to put it. Like, I've looked up, C and stuff in the past and some other ones, but it's like Python just seems to make things friendly. I don't know how better to word it.
I would have worded it like my brother. My brother says Python, leave it alone. Do C++.
Yeah, just do C++, do C, do one of the deeper down languages that can that has more functionality or can do things faster. It's like, well, you can do that with Python. You know how you do that with Python? You take some code off of GitHub that somebody has wrapped C code around a Python wrapper. Put Python around C and was like, here. Now you got all the functionality of C, but it's Python. So it's like, well, yeah, why wouldn't I do that,
Okay, let's see. My brother says PHP. What's
easy.
PHP?
PHP? I forget.
Okay, it's something totally different.
Yeah.
Yeah, my brother's a nerd, too. I mean, he works for a company in Kansas City making boards. I mean, he started down below... But he sees these boards. They have these fast checking machines that checks for defects. And he's sitting there saying, there's a defect there that the computer's not catching. He goes home, redesigns these boards. He writes these software. I mean, he could be the next Bill Gates. He just needs to find someone to give him a push.
PHP is a popular general purpose scripting language, especially suited to web development. So if that answers your question, PHP is good for web development.
Okay, so that's why he knows that, because he used probably PHP to pull from Yahoo API to get active stock market to do predictions.
Right. Which, I think it was interesting. That's something that I'm looking at is the stock predictions. I'm wondering if I could use a neural network using Thinkorswim trading data, the live data, use that to possibly train a neural network. Or I mean, you could hard code. A lot of people, I feel like majority of people who use bots or scripts or whatnot, they're hard coded. But I'm wondering if you could set up a neural network using the Thinkorswim data. And I've already looked it up. I saw a package on GitHub or project on GitHub that was a Thinkorswim bridge. So it supposedly can pull. I haven't looked any too in depth in it, but it supposedly can pull all of the live data from the exchanges from Thinkorswim, pass it directly through to your Python script. It doesn't. I don't think it has to be Python. It can be, I think, I'm not sure if it was Java or JavaScript. I didn't take a look at it, but it's Python and then one other language that it can pull in. So you essentially have your program running in that language, and then it's a bridge. It just takes the data from Thinkorswim and gives it to the language that you want, one of two.
Okay,
they have it set up for.
I'm going to go back and re-explain something because not all of our people know exactly what we're talking about.
Sure.
When he's saying hard-coded, that pretty much means most of the bots out there are set up to hard code. They're not actively changing stuff. You type in the parameters. Like, it will sell at this point and buy at this point.
Yeah.
And it will automatically do that.
So you would go and you would define a bunch of math, essentially, or you would define the parameters. Say if the stock price is going up and there are some like moving averages, there's like an average of the price, and then you could check like some various different values. There's a bunch of stuff that I don't use.
And a lot of these bots come with those added in, and that's what you pay for. What Dalton's talked about is using Python, like that GTA game, to learn. Like when the Python did that GTA, it did not really know how to drive, but it kept doing something, and it learned that was wrong, this is right.
I mean, using Python to create a script to interface, and then using a neural network. The neural network doesn't have to be set up through Python. It can be set up through anything else, but using just a neural network to, I mean, if you can find the right data, if you can pull the right data, and you can normalize the data to make it easier for the neural network to pass through it, pass through the neural network and have the weights work. So essentially, a neural network is just a bunch of it's a bunch of nodes, right? So there you have an input layer and you have an output layer. The input layer is any information that you want to feed to the neural network. The output layer is the actions or the outcomes you want. So the only outcomes that you want the neural network to predict upon. So, like for example, if you were doing trading, the input layer would be all of the live trading data, price, volume, maybe averages if you want, although I don't know why. I mean, yeah, potentially, or some other stuff. Just live data, and the outputs would be buy or sell, right? Mm-hmm. I mean, you could simplify it to buy or sell. And then you just have to balance the data. You have to make sure all of the live data you're getting can be easily read. And then once you put it in the input layer, it goes through hidden layers. And hidden layers have so many nodes. Let's say, for example, the first hidden layer has 64 nodes. And all those 64 nodes are talking to or are transferring data to another, say, 64 nodes in the second hidden layer. And then they go to, say, 512 nodes in, like, say, a dense layer or something. And so, like, the hidden layer, like, they're all connected. All of these nodes are connected by different weight values or different, I guess, how do you say, modification values. It'll modify the information being passed through that node by a value or like some type of value. And then it'll go through the next layer, and then it'll get modified by more values and go through the next layer, and whatnot until it reaches your output layer. What makes a neural network work is the neural network can change those modifiers. It can change the weights in between the nodes. So the numbers you're passing through, say you pass a 1 through, and this weight has a 0.5, and then it gets through, but it makes it to the end, and you verify it. It makes sure nothing works. It's like, this is not the outcome we wanted. Then it might go back and change that modification of 0.5 or 5 or whatever I said, and so now changes it to a 0.2. So now it's a 1.2 instead of a 1.5.
I mean,
I
mean, if you guys have followed this, it is very time-consuming to crunch these numbers. It'd be something. Use a quantum computer to push this data faster.
Yeah, I don't even know if quantum computing, if they have the functionality.
The problem is you got to make the functionality. Yeah, there's no general operating system.
Quantum computers right now don't have a necessarily programming language. The quantum computers right now you're essentially making circuits.
Yes.
A bunch of circuits and or not. C-not, controlled not, whatnot, and how...
You have to build your own program to work. It's
a whole bunch of nonsense that I don't want to learn or understand. Well, I just don't.
It's probably got something, I'm stretching here, probably got something like DOS, a very simple system. And then you got to learn how to use that simple system to write your program. But, quantum computer would be awesome if you could plug your algorithm into it. It should be able to learn so much faster.
I just don't think the functionality would be there. It's just a completely different type of it's a completely different type of information processing.
Oh yeah. So, but it's amazing.
Yeah.
So quantum processors use what they call qubits, and qubits are kind of like what is it? Schrodinger's cat, the cat in the box, where it could be alive, dead. So you got to assume it's both. A qubit actually gets measured by the angle, right?
Kind of. Qubits are kind of like they have, right? So normal bits have a 1 or a 0. Mm-hmm. They're either on or they're off, right? Qubits are a 1 or a 0 or both. Not necessarily both, though. It's superposition. It is both until you measure it. You won't know what it is until you measure it, because it's not just an on or an off. The way that they represent it is with a vector. So the way that it's represented, if you go through if you try to create a circuit, you try to map that circuit, you try to map one of the qubits and its position in the circuit at the time of measuring just throughout the circuit, it's essentially just like a sphere with an X and a Y line, and then you have like a vector pointed anywhere in that sphere. Could be pointed straight up to mean 0, straight down to mean 1, or it could be pointed, straight left, and that's halfway between 0 and 1. So reality, when you go to measure it, it could be a 1, or it has to snap to a 1 or a 0. When you take a measurement of the qubit, it has to be 1 or 0. But when you're not measuring it, it's probability. It has a chance. So if it's like straight out sideways, it's a 50-50 chance of going to a 1 or going to a 0. If it's, for example, angled up, like at like the quarter, could be, 75% chance of dropping to a 0, but a 25% chance of dropping to a 1. It's not fully realized.
Okay, so...
It's very interesting. It's way too complicated to a lot. It's just too complicated.
It is very, very complicated. I mean, there's some good videos out there on YouTube that explain it. Just type in quantum processing. And you'll learn a lot more, and it's better to explain. But I want to explain why we got to quantum processing. Okay, in physics, there is something called quantum tunneling. And that's when you get so small, an electron could pass through material. And this is what was happening. We were making these processors smaller and smaller until the point where we can't make it smaller because it will start quantum tunneling. They'll bridge over to the next electron and you couldn't process data. So we go into quantum processors, which use quantum tunneling with qubits. And it's so amazing that we're able to do this. This is like sci-fi.
But, I mean, even just the thought of the qubit seems to, obviously physicists, people working on this, I don't think it's fully understood yet, but people working on this are saying that, no, this is not breaking the laws of physics. It's like whoever predicted this years ago. But qubits inherently, in my eyes, everything that I was taught, you can't go faster than the speed of light, right? That's not possible. To our understanding, that's not possible.
What we know now.
But you have qubits. And we know this to be true because we have quantum processors. We can see this happening with qubits. This qubit can be controlled by this qubit. If this qubit is a 0, this qubit, you could set this qubit to not be a 0. And it would flip instantly, regardless of distance, regardless of space in between. Instantly they're connected and just flip.
Yes.
Which doesn't but somehow that doesn't defy the laws of physics, even though to my mind, I'm sure we just, and when people start to learn more about it and they can explain it better, I'm sure they'll come up with new rules for why it doesn't actually break the speed of light
Yes,
concept.
and there's a lot on that. And actually, I looked up. There's a good YouTube video from I'm going to pronounce this wrong. It's called Kurzagate. I'll just spell it for you. K-U-Z. Wait. Wow. K-U-R-Z-G-E-S-A-G-T. That's the YouTube channel, and just look up quantum computers explained. And that is a very good video on that. So I was going to college for physics. I'm not good at math. The sad part is I am not good at math.
Kind of a prerequisite for physics there, man.
Yeah. I love physics concepts. Okay, I'm going to apologize. You guys are going to hear me open a can.
Uh-huh.
Maybe I edited that out.
How dare you? How dare you, Josh?
I know. I just ruined our podcast.
Just
Might as well go home.
Broke everyone's eardrums. No, I love where technology is going, whether it be with neural networking and figuring out the right information to pass through and get what you want, and just trying the different models you could try, different there's a whole bunch that you could change about a neural network feeding it. Then we have quantum computing, which Google and IBM and all those major companies have like 50 qubit machines at this point. But they're like, you know what? You want to experiment with a 5 qubit machine? Do it for free. Just log in. It's just just connect. Just connect to it. It's that simple. They're just giving away access to these 5 qubit machines, probably because
they want people to learn. They want these companies to make the programs.
They want some genius, some unidentified genius to be like, hey, to think of something they haven't thought of. I would assume. But then again, with their 50 qubit machines, you assume that they're thinking about a lot. They've already got a lot going on that they're not sharing yet. But I just can't wait.
I mean, it's amazing. And it's very hard to explain how fast 50 qubits are. Okay, picture you walking down the street. Okay, now picture a plane going Mach 3. Okay, that plane is actually now going Mach 50, which is impossible. That is how fast that is. Yeah. That difference, it is so amazing.
It's that's just based on the the thing with regular bits, because you have a 1 or a 0. You have 2 choices. It's completely binary. Everything is binary. So every bit you add is just another 2. It's another choice of 2. So but with qubits, since they can all interact, since one qubit can control another qubit, it's not 2. It's 2 to the power of however many qubits you have. That's the speed at which you can process information. Or that's the amount of possibilities it can have, or it can see, or it can iterate through, or whatnot. I might have messed that up. I probably did. That probably messed up a lot. But I just
don't worry, we'll hear about it.
But it's like there are just so many technologies. I love it. Another technology that I love that I want to see is something I've been dreaming of my entire life. Plug me into a computer. Hook me up to an EEG. And read my brain and let me, map my brain to a computer. That way I can just control everything without even moving. I would be the happiest person on the planet, and they are doing it. People smarter than myself are making it happen.
Well, Tesla has the leader on it, right?
Well, I don't know if they're the leader, but they have the Neuralink, which is, to be fair, the Neuralink is an implantable mesh. It is like wires with electrodes on those wires reading. And it is vastly different from the other EEGs that we have. The other EEGs just sit on top of your head, but they still have a lot of information readability. But I think Elon Musk, when he was announcing Neuralink, said that the Neuralink you won't be able to just read, you'll be able to write. But I have a feeling that was just his
overstatement.
Yeah, that's just his confidence in where it's going to be, maybe 10, 20 years down the road. But, I think in the next 10, 20 years, we're going to be seeing a lot of people working on this problem and actually having a lot of progress. I think there's genuinely going to be a huge market for, brain, the neuron analysis and whatnot.
Okay, sorry if you guys heard me clicking. I looked up Neuralink on here. Okay, Neuralink is amazing. And one thing, he said we might be able to write. And, that's where we're going to have to start asking, is that the best thing? Because, what can we actually change in someone else's brain? But here's why I'm so excited. This could be where humans could live forever. When we get time, like we're going to die, we just upload our brain to the Matrix. Yeah. Oh no. And I'm not scared of technology. I don't think Terminator's ever going to come out. Humans are our own Terminator.
I think there's a real fear if people try to use certain technologies to create, more weaponized. If they, obviously we're going to. These things are going to be used for war, no doubt. That's 100% gonna happen. We're human beings. It's unavoidable.
I'm going to disagree with you on that one thing.
But, okay.
Going on war, I mean, this is a small tangent, but we are at the point in human life where we'll go into one war that will almost destroy us and we will never catch up, or war in, like, World War scale will not happen. Actually, if you look at the statistics, war is going down. There's civil wars everywhere, but war is going down. And deaths in war are going down. It's actually that amazing. But, I mean, we're always at one point. Like, if Korea tries to launch real nuclear weapons and blow some country up, that could be the tipping point. And that's what I'm worried about. We're at that tipping point where we're getting so closely linked. Like China. We don't want to go to war with China because we're closely linked to it. And that's why you see countries like Korea or some of the Middle Eastern countries that are not necessarily closely linked to the global market. Right now, it's pointless for us to blow something up that we're getting cheaper material from. Dalton wants to go here.
Saying the Middle East is not closely related to the global market is a vast understatement, considering the entire reason we're there is for oil, this commodity that the global market is refusing to. That's not true. A lot of global market is abandoning, but at least on the U.S. there are a lot of people still clinging to it. It's the saying they're removed from the global market is I think exactly wrong. It is 100% incorrect.
When I say that, you look at what's warring.
I kind of want to get back to the technology and not so much the
oil.
war.
They're warring over religion and stuff. Okay, back to technology.
But, I just find it fascinating. I want to be plugged into a computer, but it's
Me too.
It's like you say when you die, or whenever it comes close and your time's almost at an end, it's like you just upload it. You won't even have to upload it. If you're using it on a daily basis, you're already uploaded. Yes. If you have it hooked up to, it's already being saved somewhere because it has to be able to recognize. Now, like no one human brain is the same, right? There's not going to be one overall map that works. It's going to be directly related to how the neurons in your brain have made links and have made connections. So it's you're going to have to map each individual brain. If you want to use it, I assume you're going to have to map your brain and get it to interface properly. You're going to have to go through iterations and iterations and iterations of thought before the machine can recognize individual thoughts or processes.
Well, you're right, but you would have to probably mix quantum processing with our brains. And you know why this is actually very amazing? I just had a grandmother die from dementia, a brain illness. Think about what a neural network could do. I mean, there could be a point where once your brain's gone, you can upload into a clone of your body or something different. I mean, there is a couple different philosophies on it. Like if you upload your neural patterns to a computer, will that be a different person? And I say yes in the end. It would be totally different based off of experience.
I say it's not you. Like you won't be the one driving, right? It's like if you pass on, you're actually going to die. But something with your memories and your thought process patterns is going to still be around, and if it's truly artificial intelligence, it'll be alive. But you mentioned dementia, and that's where I think it's interesting that the Neuralink is claiming to be able to write to your brain, because essentially if you can write, like if you can write to the brain as well as you can read from the brain, then theoretically all of your memories could be saved. Well, dementia won't exist because you won't ever lose the memory.
Well, theoretically, you could actually have a brain transplant, just like a heart transplant, or a pacemaker, or artificial heart, and have an artificial brain. Because you're able to put that somewhere else. I mean, we're still far away, but in 30 years, it's going to be so freaking amazing.
We're so far away, but at the same time, I feel like by the time we're dead, this technology is going to be readily. I think it's coming faster than people realize. I think it's going to be here very soon.
Oh yeah, like I said, 30 years of my prediction.
You said it's going to,
household.
You mentioned earlier we probably need quantum computers to properly interface with the brain. I don't think that's true at all. Just from what I've been watching with neural networking, if neural networking with basic computers gets any better, like even right now, I assume a neural network, if you can pass it the right information, would make interfacing with the brain easier. But if we get computing speeds on a basic computer higher, and neural networking, something changes about the way neural network interfacing with the brain will be significantly easier. Like you won't even need quantum computing.
Well, also there's a new technology coming out. Okay, for any Trek fans out there, Voyager, they had binaural circuitry. We are actually in laboratories making binaural circuitry. Wow, I'm saying that weird.
Circuitry?
Thank you.
Okay.
That's what I was trying to say. But it's using something like a brain to process stuff like a computer. It's pretty amazing. I mean, it's still...
Are you talking about where they took rat... when they took neurons from a rat
and put it on a circuit
board.
They
put it on a circuit. The circuit had essentially 100 by 100 like square nodes. Like they had 100 by 100 nodes, and then they put a layer down to make the neurons stick to those nodes so that they could accurately fire on those separate neurons. And then they started feeding it information through the electrical circuits directly to the neurons. The neurons were creating pathways, and then this little petri dish of rat neurons was able to stabilize and keep a plane simulation flying.
Yes.
So, and that's like, I watched that video, and it's like, this is the video of the rat thing flying, and it's like, that's with a 50 knot crosswind. It's like almost perfectly level.
Yeah.
And it's,
humans usually can't do it.
Yeah, it's like I know at first when I was watching that video, it's like the plane like kind of went to the right a bit, or kind of wing tipped up just a little bit, and I was like, I don't know, it's kind of unstable right there. It's doing pretty good, but it's a little unstable. And he's like, that's with a 50 knot crosswind, by the way. I was like, well then never mind, that's doing way better than I probably would.
Oh yeah, I mean, but no, what's amazing is actually a video I watched over this. This YouTuber, I wish I wrote that name down, actually made his own at-home neural circuitry.
Yeah.
With the rat brain. He ordered the brain.
He ordered the neurons. He made simple
pasted
circuits.
It all on.
Yeah.
It's pretty amazing. You can do this at your home.
I had some complaints about his, bottle cap petri dishes, but
he had like 90%, it was like 75% fail because of design problems.
Yeah. But it's
25% on this concept. Doing at home with no super expertise on it is pretty amazing.
Think about it. 20 years in the future, 30 years in the future, we're gonna be, or people are gonna look back on this and look at us like talking about these technologies, and it's gonna be like a Back to the Future moment. Like people are gonna be like, man, they're in It's like we're gonna be the guys talking about flying cars when in reality,
I was going to say that.
When in reality, a flying car is absurd, because you know how much noise a flying car would make. Like it's just, people complain about you playing your music too loud. Imagine leaving your house at at midnight going to get a Big Mac or something, and you get in your flying car and it takes off and you have these jet engines whirring. Your neighbors would have a they'd have something at your expense, you know.
I got a prediction with self-driving cars. Vehicles and transportation will become for the rich, and there will be community cars, like these cars you don't even have to buy. You hit like your Uber button and this automated car comes up and you're gone.
There already are community cars. They're not self-driving. Well,
yeah.
Some of them probably have.
Google's tried.
I assume they have self-driving capabilities. A lot of them, but it's literally you walk up with a card that has like an RFID chip, right? You sign into the car and then you just drive wherever, and then you just leave the car wherever.
Yeah.
Wherever you don't have to take it to a specific building. You just park it in a public lot that is, you know.
I mean,
go on your way.
Yeah, there's some limitations. I don't think you can take it out of the town or.
No, there are some that you can do long distance as well. You just because
bring it back.
I mean that RFID card, your account is assigned to a credit card or debit card that you have on file. So it's like as soon as you're done with your trip, your mileage is calculated, or your length is calculated, and then they take out. It's an automatic withdrawal. But that I think when self-driving cars become more prevalent, or when regulations. I mean, the first truck, was it Google or was it Tesla? Truck did a full trip across the country completely self-driving.
I don't know who did it. I know Google.
I think it might have been Google.
A car, and the cameras got close to a shiny bus and crashed into the bus. I mean, they're working on this technology, but you're not going to have problems. It's like you can't freak out about something like that because you can't predict for every problem. And it's been proven self-driving or at the very least, autopilot in cars is significantly safer than a human driver. Even at this point, staying in the lane, it is 100% and without a doubt. It is safer than a human driver. And actually, let me make a correction. I don't know if it was Google, and I don't know, maybe it was brought up that it had problems when it got to this. I don't know if that actually happened. I want to put that disclaimer out.
That could be fixed with, probably a few extra sensors angled at different directions, or some type of corrective filtering before the data gets fed through the processing,
But self-driving is nothing new. I remember Top Gear, or not Top Gear. Was it?
I have no idea.
I think it was Top Gear, and they had. I think it was Porsche or a German car factory had a self-driving car.
Yeah.
They put it on a track and they used GPS, and it went around the track perfectly. Mind you, there was not other vehicles on there, but it went around perfectly.
But that's also just like designating a. So, I mean, but then again, if you're going off of GPS and a track, then any waypoint you put in the GPS is technically your track, right? Although you can't I assume with this
it was going fast.
Being hard coded to the track, it learns everything about this one specific track.
Yes.
And if you tried to take it off that track, it probably wouldn't.
No, but that's like the baby steps entering into it. But also look at some farmers. Some farmers have self-driving tractors and combines.
Absolutely.
They just start it and they go with it. And there's lawnmowers. It's not
these combines, right? You just
it uses GPS.
It uses GPS. You set the
or you have to pre-drive it once.
You set the boundaries, right? Or you pre-drive it once and you set the boundaries, and then it just goes the way you told it.
I mean, these are the baby steps into fully
basics,
automated.
But I mean, even fully automated self, driving cars is it's 5 years from now it's going to be completely automated. You're going to be able to, like right now, if you walk out of you're in a busy city or whatnot, you park in a parking garage and you don't remember where you parked, you can literally just pull up your phone, hit a button, and certain self-driving cars can come find you. They
got motorcycles.
They will leave their parking space. They will go to you. Yeah.
Motorcycles that do that with no rider.
Naturally, people have put restrictions so that you can't do these in like public parking space or public parking lots and whatnot because people are afraid. Oh, somebody's gonna get hurt.
Okay, Tesla has that you can summon some of their cars. And you do it wrong, you're going to have an accident. They've had some accidents because people didn't follow by Tesla rules. And Tesla is very good at their rules because they don't want you to do something stupid.
Yeah.
I mean, you see pictures of people falling asleep while driving a self-driving car. And Tesla had an accident.
Right.
And it's not Tesla's fault. It is the driver's fault for not doing it. You're supposed to be ready to take control.
100%. Yeah, the person falling asleep at the wheel, like, yes, Tesla, like, since, I think Elon Musk touched on this specifically. He said, either him or one of his engineers, saw that video and was like, this needs to change immediately. Yes. Like, we can't let people fall asleep. Like, he's like, we could have... And now they have that. So if you don't touch the wheel for so long, it starts making noise at you. And if you still don't touch the wheel, it pulls over and it essentially yells at you.
And this is a company. So, I hate monopolies and stuff, but this company probably has a monopoly in this electrical cars, but they are actually pushing the boundaries like they should. I love this company because of it.
I genuinely appreciate everything Tesla is doing. They just seem to be doing it for the benefit of everyone. The technologies that they're developing are incredible. I mean, they even have, them and a few other companies, not even self-driving cars, just trying to create, a more scalable internet platform, being low orbit satellites, so low latency satellites. Current satellite internet is talking to a satellite however many thousand miles away, hundreds of thousands of miles away, 300 and some thousand miles away, I'm pretty sure. That's too far. It's too far. The delay is noticeable, especially if you're, doing something that requires low latency. But they're working on these low orbit satellites that eventually, no matter where you are on any continent, you could, except maybe Antarctica, although they could probably put some above Antarctica. I just don't know that they would. I mean, maybe for the few science researchers that are out there, because there are definitely still people in Antarctica. So just set like one or two to Antarctica, a few in between to mesh link back to the main areas, main continents. But all main continents should have plenty of satellites over them. No matter where you go, as long as you can see the sky, you'll probably have an internet connection. And I think that's amazing. I love it. I can't wait.
I want to go back. There's not too many people I would love to spend time with, but if I got offered to spend 3 months with Elon Musk, and that would probably make me go bankrupt, I would go bankrupt and go spend 3 months with 100%, Elon Musk. 100%.
If I could just shadow
one day
that company, just be a shadow. I will not. Like, really, Elon Musk, yes, but generally any of the engineers in that, like, I understand a lot of their work could potentially be, monotonous. There might be some, formulaic or math or some just information that they have to wade through, some analysis that they have to wade through to get to the real good shit. But it's just like, if I could just like sit there, I won't ask questions. If I don't understand anything, I won't even bother you with it. I would just Google it and I would just look it up. And if I don't understand, I'm sure I'll figure out context eventually. I will just sit there. It's like I can observe, and that's the motto of my life. I know how to observe. I love it. I'll just sit back and watch this shit unfold. Like, yes, this is amazing.
Okay, so going back, Elon Musk is the CEO you want for your corporation. Now, he even will say, you know what? I did not do that. This engineer, he named the engineer that did this on, I think it was a Tesla truck or something.
Yeah.
Now, I want to go for a funny point here.
I think actually I watched the Joe Rogan podcast with him. It's like the thing about he said, did you know there are some features, some hidden features to the Tesla cars. There are some hidden features to the Tesla cars, and he's like, he says, did you know it can dance? Because it can dance to, what is it, Beethoven?
Yes.
Yeah. It can dance to Beethoven, do that little thing. And Joe asked him, was like, what made you put that in there? And he's like, well, one of our engineers, and he names the engineer, Just
it's amazing brain.
Yeah,
it's
straight
amazing.
up just names the engineer. Just like, yeah, he just said, so I wrote this thing to make the car dance. I want to implement it? He's like, yes, do that. Yes, please do that.
But no, here's my funny point on it is, didn't he ask him, well, are these Easter eggs?
Yeah.
Is there somewhere we can find it, or did you put that? Well,
no.
we probably should. Well, you say it. You said it better.
He's something along the lines of like, I thought it was hilarious. Well, are all these just like random Easter eggs? Is there some of this, that we can find them? And he's like, no, there are a lot that nobody's discovered yet. It's like there are quite a few that people just haven't found yet. We thought they would, but they haven't. And he's like, well, they're unimportant. They're just all like this dancing. He's like, no, probably not. Some of them could actually be quite useful. We should probably tell people about them. It's like, come on. Oh, what? I love it. I love it.
Yeah, it's pretty funny.
Yeah, but it's like it's all a game, and because it all is a game. If you're operating off of Elon Musk's or theory that we're all in a simulation, like the chances of us being in a simulation, technically probably pretty high. But I like to believe we are the first iteration, and that the simulations will come after us. But who knows? Our entire universe could be a simulation.
But here's the thing. Once we make the first simulation, the likeliness of us being in a simulation is so much more likely.
Honestly, it's not even once we make the first simulation. Once we can realistically say we will be able to make a simulation, which right now we can say we will be able to do it. It's not a matter of if, it's a matter of when. And because it's a matter of when, it becomes, well, there's a good chance it already happened.
And if it did, I'm really upset with the creators. You could have made me rich.
Although, if you have the technology to simulate an entire world, why would you want to revert back to a time pre that technology like that?
Well,
why would you want that?
Because they're trying to learn how they developed as a species, how they evolved,
right,
or how technology happened. Because think about it, 1600, we know a lot, but we don't know enough. And that might be what they're doing. They're sitting at year 50 billion, and they're trying to look back at 2000. And this is how they're doing it.
It's entirely possible. Although, if they're creating a really realistic simulation, well, granted, if they had the ability to create a fully realistic, representation of the universe, then they could realistically change any values that they wanted and set the different parameters to make sure certain things happen so that things develop somewhat similar. But there's just so much random chaos, random mutations, and just change that could happen. Just all of these different variables that there's, looking back, if they were trying to look back at their civilization, it wouldn't be the same. You're not going to get the same thing. It's like
it shouldn't.
The fact that we're bipedal creatures made out of with carbon-based life instead of like some boron-based microscopic something, some rat with whatever, or the fact that we have an intelligent life at all. The fact that we're sentient is not guaranteed. It's actually highly improbable. So
it is, and that actually goes into a philosophy. We're looking up at the stars looking for alien creatures. We can't find it. So that will mean that there's no alien creatures that have hit our point yet. And that could be bad news or good news. If it's a bad news, that means other creatures have reached the same level we have, but are unable to make the next jump, and they die out. If we're the first, that's really good news because we're doing really good.
Well,
now, I do believe in probability on this. We exist, so the probability of other life forms are existing is definite. But them being as smart as us, how many intelligent life forms on Earth is there? Okay, how many actually can reach our intelligence? I'm not talking about dolphins that are up to 3rd grade and monkeys that are probably, I don't know how smart they say they are.
Well,
but they're smart. They can use tools.
They can learn sign language.
Yes, and they can communicate. There's a gorilla that actually can talk
Coco
and hold... Is it Coco?
Coco the gorilla.
Can hold conversations with humans and express emotions.
I know orangutans specifically are known for their ability for language processing, right? So sign language, orangutans have a natural gift for it, I believe. But
yes. But we are the only species on Earth that are at this level. We are really high.
Well, I mean, yeah. But then again, they say, I mean, you come down to like what is it, like a class 1 civilization? That's the one that they always refer to. Which, you know, I can't give the definition. I'm going to have to leave that to Google. But we're not a class 1 civilization yet.
No.
Because we don't have space travel. We don't have whatever it is that creates a class 1 civilization. But apparently
we're looking for world peace.
Getting to a class 1 civilization is very difficult. Some people say it's impossible. Some people say it's not going to happen.
I hate the word impossible.
So, I also hate the word impossible.
Quantum computers supposed to be impossible.
Clearly nothing is impossible. If you think something's impossible, it's because we just don't understand why yet.
Soundbird was supposed to be
100%.
impossible. I mean, look at technology back in 1900, what they had. And then you follow it. Technology is growing rapidly. It's a curve up, and it's getting close to almost peaking.
The answers are out there somewhere for almost every question we have. We just have to find it.
And you know what I want to put in? The best thing ever is ask questions. There's no problem asking questions. If you think someone said something wrong, redo your research. I don't like it when someone just believes what someone else told them. Like what we're telling him. Go look it up.
Motto of my life throughout school was if I believed somebody said something incorrectly, I had no problems correcting. I would just be like, isn't that supposed to, didn't you mean, or isn't this, and blah blah blah. And it's like to the point,
teachers hate,
to the point where they're like, okay, stop talking. You're not. It's like I had teachers asking questions like okay, if I'm gonna offer this Snickers because I was the only one in the class to answer questions. I'm gonna offer this Snickers to anyone who can answer this question that isn't Dalton. And I was just like, well, I was like, well, now, if nobody else answers the question, do I get the Snickers? No, you don't. So I'm like, well, that's just not fair.
That is Daltonist.
That's just not fair.
Daltonist.
I just sit there, I observe. Sorry for that clap. That was probably a little loud. I just sit there, I observe, and I learn. I absorb information. It's all I do. I'm an observer.
See,
I'm a learner.
I'm on the opposite. I do learn these millions of little details, but I fell through the cracks in school. Yeah. I mean, school was not good for me. I didn't learn what I should have. But I can sit down here and explain some physics. I can explain what Bose-Einstein condensate is. Mm-hmm. Quantum processing.
I loved school all the way up until middle school. There were certain points in high school that I thought were all right, but for the most part, I realized at least the education system in the U.S.
It's messed up.
None of it mattered. You know, it's like I was getting straight A's and straight A's and straight A's and straight A's. I was constantly helping people, trying to help get, you know, it's like one of the reasons like I would correct, like sometimes a teacher would make a mistake and I would correct them, right? And I would do that because I would assume some of the other people in the class that maybe had a harder time understanding the subject, if you make a mistake while you're teaching somebody, they're going to learn the mistake. So I was doing it for the benefit of the people in my class, but the students never saw it that way. The students were like, why the fuck are you still talking? Stop. And so I was like, okay, I'm going to stop. I'm not gonna speak out.
Well, teachers don't like that too.
Then I was like, and then it just made learning really boring for me. I just hated it. I was like, throughout high school, I was like, I'm gonna maintain a C average. So I just stopped doing homework, just aced the tests, and maintained my C average. And that's what I made it through a year of college with that. And I knew I hated school from like sophomore year. I was like, I'm done. I hate this. But I still love learning. Like that's why when I start watching these videos on neural networking and Python, I love it. It's amazing.
Talking about school, in 4th grade, I had a sociology book, and it talked about what the Statue of Liberty was made out of. Maybe it was a science book. Talked about how it was rusting.
Yeah, it's copper.
It said it was made out of nickel, and that's why it's green. Nickel does not oxidize green.
Sure doesn't.
So that
if that were the case, there'd be a lot of old coins you'd be seeing turning up green. If
yeah,
there's a reason nickel plating is a thing.
Does nickel actually oxidize?
I don't think it does. I think I think that's why it's used as the top layer for a lot of things, is because it doesn't oxidize.
Or maybe when it oxidizes, I don't know. Maybe we should look that up sometime.
Yeah, I have
copper oxidizes green. Look at pennies. It's copper outside coating. It turns green. Yeah. There you go. And that's why Statue of Liberty is green. Brand new. It's pretty cool if you look up pictures of what the Statue of Liberty would have looked at brand new. It is copper. I mean, it's amazing how it looks. Thank you, France, for giving it to us.
I think in general, if this podcast has sparked your interest in things, learn things. I love learning things, and I hate this.
Oh yeah.
I hate that right now we seem to be living in a time where people are ignoring learning, and I don't know why, because there's just so much that people are missing. It's incredible what we've come to, and people are focusing on all the negatives. That's why I didn't want to talk about Trump today.
Yes, I do agree, and I do agree we need to go and keep learning. You don't have to go to college to learn. You just simply YouTube, Google, check the facts. You're good. But looking at the time, we're going to actually get to a closing point here. Is there anything else we need to state?
Nope. I think, maybe a bit. If somebody has anything to say, if you think we've messed anything up, or if, you disagree with something that we've stated in this podcast, let us know. I'm sure this will be put on YouTube eventually, if that's where you're listening. Comment section. Otherwise, we should have a website up. Eventually, it'll be put into the description. I'm not 100% on that. But yeah, seems like a good endpoint.
Okay, we'll see you guys later. I'm Josh.
I'm Dalton. Thanks for listening.